Morning, Jannah. Walid. Can you hear me, guys? Morning, guys.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning, Walid. Just admitting your friends. Baghdadi. Jannah. Garaifi. Tadrus. Martina. Yusuf Sahrawi. And Yusuf Awad. So I'd like to welcome Jannah Tamir, Walid, Kiara, Jannah Gouda, Hala, Jana Osman, Mariam, Usama, Baghdadi, Jana Garaihi, Martina, Tadrus, Sahrawi, Yusuf Awad, and Yahya Awad, and Alia Walid. So we have 16 students so far. Okay, friends, we're going to start with the novel.
مستر
Yes,
ممكن حضرتك تدخل عليها؟
yeah, I did.
Oh.
I did. Okay, she's with us now. Morning, Alia. Alia.
Good morning, Mister.
Okay. So we are 16 students now, and myself. So we did in term 3, we did parts 5, 6, 7, and 8. In the quiz, we did part 5. In the exam, we did parts 6 and 7, and we did quickly. And this term, we're going to do 9 and 10. You know, there are 10 parts in this novel. So this means we have just about 60 pages only. It's not that much as the third term, because you complained about this. So from the very beginning, please pay attention and follow up with me. During the session, I'll stop to ask you some questions. I'll ask some of you to participate. Again, if I call your name and you don't answer, this means you're absent, as you know. I have two people, Yasmin Said and Yasmin Sa'a. It's Yasmin Said and Yasmin Said. Yasin and Yasmin, sorry. Yasin Said and Yasmin Said. Okay, so as I were saying, Yasin and Yasmin, we have parts 9 and 10 in this term. Maybe in the quiz, in the novel quiz, we're going to have part 9 only. And maybe in the final exam, we're going to have part 10 only, or maybe both. It depends. Hi. Part 9, we have some titles or subheadings. The Last Human Stranger. Remember, this is the name of one of the books Liesel steals from the mayor's library. Again, The Last Human Stranger. This is one of the titles of the books Liesel Meminger steals from the mayor's library. And we have some other titles. The Next Temptation. You know, when you are tempted to do something, you find something very good, like if you are walking on the street, for example, and you find £100 note in front of you on the ground, you bend down to pick it up for sure. This is a temptation, something that tempts you to take it. Another title is A Card Player. Then The Snows of Stalingrad. You know, Stalingrad is a famous city in Russia, a place where a large number of Germans were killed in World War II. an ageless brother, then we have an accident, then we have the bitter taste of questions, then a toolbox, then a bleeder, then a bear, then a broken plane, and a homecoming. Okay, let's start with the first subheading, the next temptation. Uh, this time there were cookies, where we'll see, but they were stale. Who can define the word stale, guys? Stale. Be active, please. What the meaning of stale? No answer? We talk about cookies. Remember, cookies are biscuits. When they are stale, this means they are either fresh or not fresh.
ايه ما انا فاتحه.
Excuse me? Guys, stale means not fresh, old and not fresh. When we describe cookies or biscuits as stale, this means they are not fresh. Okay, they were Kipferl, maybe the German word for cookies, left over from Christmas. And they'd been sitting on the desk for at least 2 weeks, which means these cookies are old and stale. Like miniature horseshoes, they looked like small horseshoes with a layer of icing sugar. The ones on the bottom were bolted to the plate, were stuck to the plate. The rest were piled on top, forming a chewy mound. When we describe food as chewy, guys, this means this food is hard and it needs much effort to chew it. It needs some time to chew it. She could already, she here refers to, who's she, guys? Who is she? Hello? Type, I'll pick names to answer. Hala Sharif, who's she? Hala?
Yes, Mister.
Who is she? The highlighted pronoun in front of you. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Who does the word she refer to?
Lisa.
Liesel, yes. She could already smell, Liesel could already smell them, smell these cookies. When her fingers tightened on the window ledge, she was jumping through the library window to steal another book. Instead of books, she found some cookies on a plate in the middle. Who left this for them? Elsa Herman, okay, the mayor's wife. The room tasted like sugar and dough and thousands of pages because it was a library. There was no note, but it didn't take Lisa long to realize that Elsa Herman had been at it again. This means it was Elsa who left these cookies for her. And she certainly wasn't taking the chance that the cookies might not be for her. She believed that Elsa left these cookies for her, especially for her. She made her way back to the window and passed a whisper through the gap. A whisper to whom? To Rudy, who was waiting outside. The whisper's name was Rudy. Okay, so the girl whispered to the boy. They'd gone on foot that day. They didn't take their bikes. Huh? Why didn't they take their bikes? Yusuf Awa. Why do you think they didn't take their bikes that day to the mayor's house? Yusuf?
The road was too slippery.
Yes, the road was too slippery for bikes. There was snow on the ground. This is why they couldn't take their bikes. The boy was beneath the window, waiting outside under the window, standing watch. He was watching for the girl. When she called out, his face appeared from the window, and she presented him with the plate. She gave him the plate of cookies. He didn't need much convincing to take it because he went there for food, as you know. His eyes feasted on, his eyes celebrated the cookies. He liked the sight of the cookies very much, and he asked a few questions. Anything else? Any milk? Again, Rudy went to the mayor's house for food, but Liesel went there for books. She said, what? He said, milk. He repeated a little louder this time. If he recognized the offended tone in Liesel's voice, of course, she was angry with this question. She came for books, and he knew this very well. He certainly wasn't showing it. The book thief's face appeared above him again. Are you stupid? Can I just steal the book? The book I came to steal? I came here to steal a book. Can you leave me do my job? Of course, all I'm saying is, I wanted to say, just look for some food in addition to the book. Liesel moved toward the far shelf behind the desk. She found some paper and a pen in the top drawer and wrote, thank you. She wrote thank you to Elsa Herman, leaving the note on top. To her right, a book protruded like a bone. She found a book. Its paleness was almost scarred by the dark lettering of the title. What is the title of the book? Die letzte menschliche Fremde, The Last Human Stranger. This is the meaning of the title, The Last Human Stranger, and this is the title of part 9. Remember, this is the book she steals in part 9 so far. The Last Human Stranger. The Last Human Stranger. It whispered softly as she removed it from the shelf, and Hassan Gouda. Hassan is late. And Yulwa. They joined about 15 minutes late. Hassan and Lulwa, you're 15 minutes late. Be careful.
Sorry, miss.
No problem. It whispered softly as she removed it from the shelf. Some dust showered down. The book was covered with dust. Again, Hassan Gouda and Lulwa. Liesel goes again to the mayor's library to steal a new book. The title of the book she steals this time is The Last Human Stranger. In addition to the book, Elsa Herman, the mayor's wife, left her a plate with some cookies on it, and the girl gave it to Rudy, who was waiting outside. At the window, just as she was about to make her way out, the library door creaked apart. Somebody entered the library. Can you guess who this person is? Can you guess? Martina? 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 So Martina is absent. Tadros? Tadros, can you hear me? So Tadros is not here. Abdurrahman Walid? Abdurrahman Walid. Okay, Walid is not here. Kiara, can you hear me, Kiara?
Yes.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
While Liesel was leaving through the window, somebody opened the library door. Can you guess who this person is? Who was in the habit of entering the library and talking to Liesel in the library? Remember? Okay, when she faced the noise, she found the mayor's wife. It was the mayor's wife, Elsa Herman. Okay, Kiara?
Yes.
Elsa Herman was dressed in a brand new bathrobe and slippers. On the breast pocket, there was a pocket on her breast of the robe, sat an embroidered swastika. Again, on this bathrobe of Elsa's, there was an embroidered swastika on the chest, on the breast. Okay, propaganda even reached the bathroom. Propaganda of the Nazis. You know, the swastika was the logo of the Nazis. Okay, they watched each other. So while Liesel was jumping out of the window, Elsa The mayor's wife saw her. They looked at each other. Liesel looked at Elsa Hermann's breast and raised her arm. Heil Hitler. Okay, she greeted Hitler the usual way, you know. She was just about to leave when a realization struck her. What did she see? The cookies. They'd been there for weeks. The cookies were there for weeks. What does this mean, guys? Some cookies were left in the library for 2 or 3 weeks. What does this mean? Can anybody guess? Mariam. Mariam, can you hear me? Mariam Naqib. So Mariam is absent. Yahya Awad, can you hear me? Yahya?
ممكن تاني السؤال يا مستر؟
Okay. A plate with some cookies, okay, was left in the library for 2 or 3 weeks. What do you think this means? It was untouched. Nobody touched it. Nobody ate anything from it. What do you think this means? Just your opinion, Yahya.
مش عارف يا مستر.
No problem. Ruhaim is joining. Morning, Ruhaim. Hassan? Hassan Ruhaim.
yes.
Morning.
Morning, yes.
You're 20 minutes late, Hassan. Okay. So this or that meant that if the mayor himself, this is Liesel thinking, thought or used the library, he must have seen them. He must have seen these cookies. He must have asked why they were there. And as soon as Liesel felt this thought, it filled her with a strange optimism. She was optimistic. Why? Perhaps it wasn't the mayor's library at all. Perhaps the mayor doesn't enter this library at all. It was hers. It was his wife's, not his. Again, when the girl saw that there was a plate full of cookies left there for 2 or 3 weeks, she had this idea that this library doesn't belong to the mayor. Why? If he'd been there, he would have asked this plate to be removed from the library. But once the plate stayed there for 3 weeks, this means the library is not the mayor's. Maybe it belongs to his wife. And this was a good thing for Liesel. She didn't know why it was so important, but she enjoyed the fact that the room full of books belonged to the woman. She liked the idea that all these books belonged to the woman, not to the mayor himself. It was she who introduced her to the library in the first place and gave her the initial, even literal window of opportunity. This way was better. It all seemed to fit. So, again, Liesel guessed that the library belonged to the mayor's wife, not the mayor himself. How did she know this, or how did she guess this? From the plate of cookies, which was left there for 2 or 3 weeks. If the mayor entered or used the library, he would have ordered this plate to be removed. But this means that the library belongs to the mayor's wife, and this is a good, or left a good impression on Liesel. Just as she began to move again, she dropped everything and asked, "This is your room, isn't it?" She's talking to the mayor's wife. The mayor's wife tightened. "I used to read in here with my son." You know, the mayor's son was killed in one of the battles. But then Liesel's hand touched the air behind her. She saw a mother reading on the floor with a young boy pointing at the pictures and the words. And then she saw a war at the window. "I know." An exclamation entered from outside. "What did he say?" Remember, Rudy was waiting outside. When Liesel said, "I know," Rudy thought she was talking to him, and he asked her, "What did he say?" Liesel spoke in a harsh whisper behind her, "Keep quiet, Zarker, and watch the street." To Elsa Herman, she said, she handed the words slowly across. "So all these books," the woman interrupted her, "yeah, they're mostly mine. Some are my husband's, some were my son's, as you know. So most of the majority of the books belong to Elsa Herman, the mayor's wife," which was good news to Liesel again. There was embarrassment now on Liesel's behalf. She or her cheeks were set alight. "I always thought this was the mayor's room. I always thought this was the mayor's room." But to herself, "I am happy that it is your room." Why? The woman seemed amused. Why? Liesel noticed that there were also swastikas on the toes of her slippers. On the toes, even the toes of the slippers, the bathroom slippers, there were swastikas. "He's the mayor. I thought he'd read a lot." The reason Liesel thought the library belonged to the mayor is that any mayor should read a lot. The mayor's wife placed her hands in her side pockets. "Lately, it's you who gets the most use out of this room. Have you read this one?" Liesel held up The Last Human Stranger. Elsa looked more closely at the title. "I have, yes." "Any good?" "Not bad." So the girl asked her about the title of the book. "Have you read it?" "Yes, it's not bad." There was an itch to leave then. Liesel wanted to leave, but also a peculiar obligation to stay. She moved to speak, but the available words were too many and too fast. There were several attempts to snatch at them, but it was the mayor's wife who took the initiative. She saw Rudy's face in the window, or more of the point, his candlelit hair. The mayor's wife saw Rudy's hair through the window. "I think you'd better go. Somebody's waiting for you outside," she said. "He's waiting for you." On the way home, they ate. So I have a question for Yusuf Sahrawi. Yusuf, can you hear me? Yusuf? So Yusuf Sahrawi is absent. Alia Walid. Alia, can you hear me?
Oh,
Okay. On the way home, they ate. Who are they and what did they eat?
Liesel and Rudy.
Good. What did they eat? What did they take from the library? A plate full of
The cookies.
good. So they were eating the cookies they took from the mayor's library. Okay, thank you, Ali. "Are you sure there wasn't anything else?" Rudy asked. Yani, didn't you find some milk, some other food? "There must have been. If you have looked carefully, you must have found something more than just these cookies." "We were lucky to get the cookies." Liesel examined the gift in Rudy's arms. "Now tell the truth," she asked him. "Did you eat any before I came back out? Did you eat any of these cookies before I came back out?" Rudy was indignant. He was angry. "Hey, you're the thief here, not me. Remember, you are the thief, Liesel, not me. Don't kid me, Zauker. I could see some sugar at the side of your mouth." She accused him of eating some cookies before she jumped out of the window. Paranoid, he was mad. Rudy took the plate in just the one hand and wiped with the other. "I didn't eat any, I promise." Half the cookies were gone before they hit the bridge, and they shared the rest with Tommy Muller on Himmel Street. So they finished the whole plate of cookies. When they'd finished eating, there were only one afterthought, and Rudy spoke it. "What the hell do we do with the plate? If your mom or my mom saw this plate, they would know that they were or it was stolen. How can we hide this plate?" The second part is the card player. So guys, who can summarize the part we have just read? I want someone to summarize the part we have just read in a minute or two, please. Ganna Tamer, can you hear me? Ganna? So Ganna Tamer is not here. Jana Uthman? Jana? Jana Uthman is not here. Usama, can you hear me? Usama Darwish?
Yes, Mr. Yes.
Okay. Did you follow up, Usama?
Okay.
Can you summarize the 3 pages we read in 1 minute? Usama? Usama, can you hear me?
Mr. I don't know.
So you weren't following up, Usama, right? Like many
Yes.
of your friends. Baghdadi, were you following up? Baghdadi?
No, Mr.
Follow up, please. Jana Garaihi, can you summarize this part? Jana? So Jana's not here. I still have Yasin. Yasin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Did you follow up from the very beginning?
Yes.
Okay, can you summarize the part you attended?
هو Liesel and Rudy go to the mayor's house to
Good,
steal a book,
good.
and the mayor's wife, Frau Herman, she left a plate of cookies,
Yes,
and it was there for a long time, for 2 weeks or something. So Liesel thinks that the library belongs to her, not the mayor.
yes.
Um, uh,
Okay, and they leave and eat the
uh,
cookies.
she and Rudy eat the cookies, and they leave the plate empty.
Okay, thank you. And during this visit, Liesel steals a new book, right, Yasin?
All right.
Okay. Yasmin Said, can you hear me, Yasmin? Yasmin? Yasmin, are you there? Yasmin is absent. Hassan Gouda? Hassan?
Yes, Mr.
Do you remember
ياسمين
the title
سأل
of
ياسمين
the book?
سعيد.
Okay, Yasmin, wait. Hassan, do you remember the title of the book? The Girl Steals This Time?
لا.
طيب Lolwa? Lolwa, can you hear me? Lolwa? طيب Ruhaim, are you there? Ruhaim?
Yes, Mr.
Do you remember the title of the book, The Girl Steals This Time? The last?
No, I entered late, so
Okay, the title of the book is the title of part 9, Hassan. It's The Last Human
Part player.
Stranger. We are doing, Hassan, we are doing part 9, right? Part 9 here.
Okay.
Look, this is part 9, and the title of the part is The Last Human Stranger. And this is the same title of the book she steals this time. The Last Human Stranger.
Okay.
This is the last book she steals from the mayor's house. Okay.
Okay.
Guys, follow up, please, and tell your friends to follow up, because I take the absence or the attendance seriously. And some of you lost many marks because of the attendance. Tell them so, please. You lost many marks, especially in term 3, because of your attendance. I'm not sure. Did you see the marks yet or not yet? Hassan, did you see the marks on SMS?
No, I didn't check.
But can you see them now? Because most of the teachers put them. And if you want to see your marks, you can see them now.
Uh, I don't know. I checked.
Okay.
ده for term 2 and term 3
Yeah, term 2 and term.
الاتنين.
For me, I put both. But
ما بتشتغلش يا مستر.
okay. Okay. طيب. يعني be careful with your attendance, please, because again, many people, maybe I can tell you now that يعني here in term 3 يعني I have Abdurrahman Walid was absent for 9 days. Muhammad Adil was absent for 13 days out of 15. The 15 online days I wrote down. Yahya was absent for 7 days. Sahrawi 14 days. This is out of 15 guys. Alia was absent for 13 days. Usama 9 days. Ganna Tamir 14 days. Hala Sharif 13 days. Haya 5. Jana Uthman 9. Jana Garayhi 9. Kunuz 10. Martina 11. Noreen 13. Yasmin Said 7. Yasmin Sa'a 10. Ryan 5. Yasin 1. Ganna Gouda 3. Layan 7. Lulwa 1. Mariam 2. Ali Gizi 2. Baghdadi 4. Hassan Gouda 1. Kiara was never absent. Yusuf Awad was never absent. Ruhaim was never absent. Tadrus was never absent. Kiara, Yusuf Awad, Hassan, Ruhaim, and Tadrus, I gave them 2 bonus marks because they were never absent during these 15 days. So be careful. I have some guys today whose names were called but they didn't answer. This means they are absent. Abdurrahman Walid, I called your name, you didn't answer 3 times. I call every name 3 times before I put a cross in front of him or her. Ganna Tamer, you didn't answer me. Jana Uthman, you didn't answer me. Mariam, you didn't answer me. Jana Garayhi, I'm not sure whether Jana is here or not. Martina didn't answer. Tadrus didn't answer. Sahrawi didn't answer. Yasmin Said answered, but after some time. Okay, I remove the.
Mr. didn't hear you.
Be careful, please. This means you weren't following up, dear. Follow up because I ask follow-up questions all the time. Okay, I'll not count on it today. I'll delete these crosses, but please, from today on, be sure you attend. And when you attend, be sure you are following up because I ask questions all the time. Thank you very much. Okay, I need somebody to help me with this page. Who can read this page or this half page? Can anybody read, please? Does anybody want to help me? Hassan Ruhaim, go ahead. Thank you, Hassan. So the title of this part is the card player. Start, Hassan.
The card player, around the time Liesel and Rudy were eating the cookies, the resting men of the LSE were playing cards in a town not far from Essen. They had just completed the long trip from Stuttgart and were gambling. Stuttgart and were gambling for cigarettes. Reinhold Zucker was not a happy man.
Wait,
he's cheating, I swear.
So we have a group of soldiers here in the German army. They were playing cards and gambling for cigarettes. If you win this game, you take some cigarettes. If you lose, you pay some cigarettes. One of them was not a happy man, angry all the time. His name is Reinhold Zucker. Zucker means sugar. Reinhold Zucker was unhappy most of the time. He was an angry man or he was not a happy man. Go on, Hassan.
He's cheating, I swear, he muttered. They were in a shed that served as their barracks, and Hans Obermann had just won his 3rd consecutive hand. Zucker threw his cards down in disgust and combed his greasy hair with a threesome of dirty fingernails.
So Hans was in the army now. Remember that Hans was called for the army. Although he was old, he was taken to fight in the LSE, this group or this barrack, okay, of Hitler's army. Hans is playing some card games with those people. One of them was called Reinhold Zucker, who was angry most of the time. He said he's cheating, I swear it, about Hans. he was angry with Hans. He thought that Hans was cheating in the game. Go on, Hassan. Some facts about Zucker.
Some facts about Zucker. He was 24 when he won a round of cards. He gloated. He would hold the thin cylinders of tobacco to his nose and breathe them in. The smell of victory, he would say. Oh, and one more thing, he would die with his mouth open.
Again,
I
we have
like.
two facts. Wait, we have two facts about Reinhold Zucker, or three, maybe three. The first fact is that he was angry all the time. Number two, he was 24, and when he won a round of cards, he gloated. He was very proud of himself, and he won some cigarettes, as he said. He put the cigarettes to his nose, and the smell of victory, he would say. And the last thing about him, he would die with his mouth open. This is foreshadowing, guys. Remember, or underline this part if you have the book. This is foreshadowing. Death, the narrator tells us that this man will die with his mouth open. We readers know from now, before the character itself, that this person will die with his mouth open. This is foreshadowing. Go on, Hassan.
Unlike the young man to his left, Hans Obermann didn't gloat when he won. He was even generous enough to give each colleague one of his cigarettes back and light it for him. All but Reinhold Zucker took out the invitation. He snatched at the offering and flung it back to the middle of the turned over box. I don't need your charity, old man. Sullivan left.
So
What's
again,
wrong with him?
so wait, Hassan. Every time Hans Huberman won a round, he gave or donated some of his cigarettes to the other guys and lit them for them. When he gave Reinhold a cigarette, Ryan refused it and said, I don't need your charity, old man. He stood up and left. He was angry all the time, as we said. Go on.
What's wrong with him? The sergeant inquired, but no one cared enough to answer. Reinhold Zucker was just a 24-year-old boy who could not play cards to save his life.
Okay, go on.
Had he not lost his cigarettes to Hans Obermann, he wouldn't have despised him. If he hadn't despised him, he might not have taken his place a few weeks later on a fairly unctuous road. One seat, two men, a short argument, and me. It kills me sometimes how people die.
Okay, so in later, some weeks later, Death says that Reinhold will give his seat to Hans and take Hans' seat, and the seat where Hans was seated, the person who was there was killed. So if Hans stayed in his seat, Hans would have been killed, but it was Reinhold Zucker who exchanged seats with Hans, and Reinhold was killed. This says it kills me sometimes how people die. And if they waited just a second in their places, Hans was the one who would die, but it was Zucker. Thank you. We have just a minute before the end of this session. We'll stop now and see you in 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Come on.